So if we cannot go to plan A, which was Messi, we're going to go to plan B. And it says here, according to Alex Pintanel, that the doors of other signings, which Barca have rolled out because of Messi, have once again been open. So again, if plan A does not work, we're going to go for plan B. And yes, Barcelona will be making multiple signings within these next 6 to 7 weeks. Xavi has also confirmed to the media and to the club what exactly he does need and what is the priority list. And the number one priority is going to be the replacement of Sergio Busquets. The second priority is going to be another midfielder, so it could be like a attacking midfielder or a defensive midfielder, who knows, we'll talk about that later. Then the next priority will be a backup striker. Most likely it's going to be a cheap option, and then the last two priorities will be a left winger and then a right back. And we are going to be explaining exactly who those players could be in each of those positions, because we do have some massive updates when it comes to Gundogan and Amrabat. So a lot is going to be covered in this video, and I hope you guys do enjoy it. And if you guys are here for the first time, thank you guys so much for joining in. If you guys also do want to support this YouTube channel, please like this video and also subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. So let's start with the number one priority, which is going to be the replacement of Sergio Busquets. And the one player that I think that Barcelona could be going for is Kimmich. Now, here's the thing. Kimmich needs to say to Bayern Munich that he wants to leave, that he wants to go to another team. He's not interested in starting this brand new era with Tuchel at Bayern Munich, and that he just thinks that it's time to go because he's been here for the past 7 to 8 years, and he probably wants to repeat what Lewandowski did last summer. So that's the one thing that we are missing from Kimmich, because I do think that once Kimmich says, I want to move to Barcelona, Barcelona will be moving for that player. So I would say that Kimmich would be the perfect replacement to Sergio Busquets. I'm not saying that Kimmich is going to live up to the hype of Sergio Busquets. I'm just saying that Kimmich would be the most ideal out of all of the other options. Yes, I understand that players like Amrabat could be also a real option. It says here that Amrabat is the option for Barcelona if a player like Zubimendi fails to work out. Fiorentina want nothing less than 25 to 30 million euros. So at the moment, in the eyes of Barcelona, because Kimmich has not said anything, the one that could replace Sergio Busquets this summer could be Zubimendi. If it's not Zubimendi, it's Amrabat. But if Kimmich comes into the picture, Kimmich is going to be shooting straight to the top and be over Zubimendi in the priority list when it comes to replacing Sergio Busquets. Now, here's the thing, and I want you guys to remember, Kimmich is not a full-time pivot. Like, he cannot play as a lone pivot at all. I mean, there are times where he is playing as a lone pivot under Bayern Munich, but he does perform at the very best when he is being accompanied by another player right next to him. And so, assuming that Xavi Hernandez will be functioning in a 3-2-2-3 system, most likely we would be seeing Kimmich and Frankie in the double pivot position with players like Pedri and Gavi up top. I already said, and I'm gonna continue to say this, if Kimmich and Frankie ends up being our double pivot players for next season, we would be unstoppable. It would be so much, there would be so much creativity in that midfield. I can't even describe what it could look like and how Barcelona would play with those two players running the midfield. And here's going to be another reason why I think that Kimmich would be so mandatory to bring in. Xavi Hernandez wanted Messi for a reason. It was because of his creative output, because he can provide a lot of through passes and a lot of smart passes. Because Xavi Hernandez has now missed on that, and now knowing that Messi will be going to Inter Miami, Xavi now wants to make sure that he's going to be having the correct players in the midfield to make up for the absence of Messi. Having players like Kimmich and Frankie and Pedri and Gavi in the midfield would make up for Messi's absence. And look, I get it. You could say that having Kimmich and Frankie in the double pivot positions would not be ideal because they're not defensive. I think that they're solid defensively. Like, I have seen both of these players play, and when they are on their A game and they're ordered to press and defend, they take the ball away 99% of the time. They're great at intercepting. So Xavi has also said regarding this position that whoever we get as Busquets' replacement, he must be very, very good. And he's talking about the technicality of that player. And Kimmich is exactly that. Xavi has even spoken about Kimmich, and this is what he said. I talked to him in Qatar. He said he was a fan of me. He is under contract with the Bayern, so it depends on him. And look at Lewandowski, for example. He wanted to come. So he's basically saying, hey, look, whatever happened to Lewandowski, the same thing could happen to Kimmich. Kimmich just needs to say, I want to come to Barcelona, and we will go for him. We would make him the top priority. And so I don't know what else to say. Like, Kimmich ended up being in second place in the Bundesliga when it comes to key passes this season. He ended up being in first place in the Bundesliga when it came to passes into the final third. He was also again in first place in the Bundesliga when it came to passes into the penalty area, in first place again in the Bundesliga when it came to progressive passes, and then lastly he ended up being in first place yet again in the Bundesliga when it came to through passes. So now let's move on towards the second priority that Xavi Hernandez is going to be looking at, and that is going to be another midfielder. Now we do have some great news. The player that Xavi Hernandez does want is Gundogan, and it has been said according to Mateo Moreto that Gundogan has agreed to sign for Barcelona on a 3-year 4-year deal. The final decision will be made after tomorrow's final, which will be between Manchester City and Inter Milan, but Barcelona fully trust he'll sign for them, starting a new chapter for him and his family. There's also a verbal agreement. As mentioned, the final decision will be made after tomorrow's final, so everything does seem set. Gundogan will be a Barcelona player. He would be considered as that reinforcement to bring in another midfielder. I do assume that players like Kessie will be leaving and go in for his spot. I think that will be a massive upgrade because of what Gundogan has shown with City this season. So it's very, very exciting. He's also going to be coming in for free, so whatever he does, it would be a massive return. Now you may say, could this be like a replacement to a player that we were looking at like Kimmich? No, I think that Gundogan and Kimmich are two completely different players. They're two different conversations. I would say that Kimmich is a central defensive midfielder and Gundogan is a attacking midfielder. They're just two different players. Way two different stories, different everything. So Gundogan will be our reinforcement. Moving on towards the next priority, and that will be the backup striker. And let me tell you guys, if Barcelona have the capability to invest in a good striker, and in terms of wages too, I would really go for Julian Alvarez. I know that seems like a very fantasy type of signing. I know where you guys are going to be coming from. You guys are going to be saying, Kevin, stop daydreaming. Like, stop thinking that Julian Alvarez is going to be a Barcelona player. He's going to be at City. He just renewed. Just please stop, Kevin, with all of these fantasy conversations. But I just think that if Barcelona really wanted it and they really wanted to go for Julian Alvarez, and Julian says, yeah, you know what, I'm not interested in being a backup striker next season because of Erling Haaland. I just don't like my situation. I think that something could happen. Like, if you were to give me the option of either signing Julian Alvarez or Vitor this summer, I would go for Julian. And yes, I do think that it is very mandatory to bring a backup striker to Lewandowski because Lewandowski cannot play all of the minutes. Erling Haaland can, which is why it makes sense for Julian to come in and share the minutes with Lewandowski. Julian will be seeing a lot more minutes at Barcelona than he does at City because Erling Haaland is still very young. He's 23, 24 years old and he can play all of the minutes. Lewandowski cannot do that. Lewandowski next season will be 35 years old, and the more he plays, the easier it is for him to get injured because of his age. And can you imagine Lewandowski getting injured next season, and let's just say worst case scenario 2 months, which does not seem like a long time, but he gets injured like in the worst time of the season, like during the group stages, and we don't have a real goal scorer. We're gonna need that extra number 9, and I do think that Barcelona is really missing a 9 that can score goals in definitive moments, like when Barcelona is facing a Bayern or a Inter Milan or a Real Madrid or a Manchester City. We're gonna need that definitive striker. Julian Alvarez is the answer to that. Lewandowski has not really shown that in this previous season that we have just finished. I'm not saying that Lewandowski is trash. I think that Lewandowski is a world-class player, but we just need someone with more flair, more excitement, more enthusiasm, more of a pressing type of striker that can take the ball away and then find those goal-scoring opportunities. So in terms of our options of our backup striker, it's either going to come down to Vitor, which is our main option, and then potentially maybe Julian, which is something that I would tell the board members. Now, when it comes to our next position and our next priority, once we're done with all of these, the left winger that we should bring in should be Abde. I think that Abde has shown a lot with Osasuna. The fact that he's able to press very well, also run a lot and cover a lot of areas on the left flank, I think that Abde deserves a return to Barcelona. If you guys are wondering, could we possibly see Barcelona sign a player like Neymar on the left wing, since players like Ansu or Ferran are not really cutting it? Well, Xavi has already confirmed that Neymar is not in their plannings for next season because there are other players who are considered as priorities over him. And one of the reasons on why Barcelona does not even consider a player like Neymar is because of fair play, also because he won't come on a free transfer and they will have to speak with PSG, and we all know how PSG is. The third reason is because of his injuries. The fourth reason is because of his general lifestyle. The fifth reason is because of his performances. And so you can see that there are many reasons why Xavi and Barcelona would never bring in someone like Neymar, even though it would be really exciting, right, to hear that, oh, there's an agreement with Neymar to Barcelona and that Neymar is going to be playing with Dembele, and can you imagine all of that flair and pace on both sides? It's not going to happen. I think that a player like Abde would really be much more of a suitor under this version of Barcelona under Xavi, because Xavi needs players that will listen, players who are very, I would say, professional, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch too. Neymar does not really seem like that type of character. Abde really does seem like he's more determined to succeed and work hard, and that is exactly what Xavi does need from his players. So I think that a player like Abde would be a great reinforcement to the left wing position. Now, we never know what could happen. We could hear in about 2 or 3 weeks that Barcelona is interested in Lionel from AC Milan and whatever, right? But at the moment, I would say it is going to be Abde. And now the last priority is going to be the right back position. Now, I'm not going to be taking too much time on this position because I just don't think that Barcelona will be signing a right back, which is why I think that it's the reason why it's at the bottom of the list, is because Koundé is here. Koundé is a great right back. Koundé has also said that he's not moving anywhere, and I do think that Xavi Hernandez will get the best from Koundé as a right back next season. Now, in terms of options, Cancelo would be the option for Xavi. We know that Cancelo has been very unsettled at Manchester City and also at Bayern Munich. Cancelo may want to leave from Bayern because he has not really found his place there, and he seems very unhappy, especially during the training sessions. And Cancelo, yes, I would say would be a great suitor to FC Barcelona. Cancelo would really give us an option to form a back four if we ever do need to. Like, we can have Cancelo on the right, Koundé and Araujo as the center back duo, with Alejandro Balde on the left back position. But then again, I don't want to ruin whatever chemistry is going on between Christensen and Araujo. I think that center back duo is probably the best in the world. I would say, I'm not even being biased, it is the best center back pairing in the world, and I don't want to disrupt that just because Cancelo is in the team now. I think that if we really want to implement a brand new right back into the first team and be the, I would say, alternative to Koundé, like for example, if Araujo ever gets injured again and we're forced to put Koundé in the center back position, just put Julian Alvarez, who came from LA Galaxy and is from Mexico. Like, we still have that player, and he did play in the friendly over there in Japan, I believe, and I heard that there were very good reports on him that he played very well. And so let's just use Julian Alvarez. Let's use what we got and not spend 85-90 million euros on a right back when we already have a right back and we have yet to really test him. And so that is it. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.